Anything media.
And then the money came. So those who were involved with that information, who were the Honorable Nandala himself, the Honorable Jack Sabiti, the Honorable Jeffrey Ekanya, we said we meet with them. Of that, as some kind of a reference point, I also invited the Honorable Afula Obutu here. And I introduced to them my information. I was promptly challenged by the Honorable Jack Sabiti, who said, how can I ask the party leaders where they are getting money when they themselves never asked me where I got money when I was party leader? Isn't it double standards? Why are you now asking these ones? And I think that question, for me, summarizes, and it has actually been kept on being played. In any case, if they get money and it helps the party, what is the problem? Clearly, there is gross underrating of the gravity of this matter. You know, receiving money from, because, you know, our struggle has been very costly to those who want change. You know, many people have died, many people are maimed. It's emotional. For people to think that, you know, the change you are fighting for, and, you know, at some stage, the Honorable Jack Sabiti said that for me, I am moved by hatred, that I hate Museveni. That I hate Museveni, and that is why, you know, I react in the way I do. Far from it. This has nothing to do with individuals. It has everything to do with how we procure change in this country. First of all, if there is a need for change, and how we procure change. Because you've heard us say over and over again that our country has been captured by the family of Mr. Museveni. Not even by an institution, not by NRM, not by even the military, it's by the family. And we know what has happened to institutions where the money has gone from that institute, from those sources. So to trivialize it and say, you know, because the supposition was that maybe me also, I was getting money from there. Why am I asking others where they are getting money? But if anybody would have information that the very problem you want to remove is the one facilitating you, and you keep quiet about it, then you are self abetting treason. You are helping the destruction of the mission. So anyway, that meeting which we held here did not yield results. After that, the Honorable Nandala pulled out some files that he wanted to explain where the money came from, that it is his money, but we didn't get into those details. Save for that having been the first sign for me that poor Patrick Amriat was also involved, because the reason I approached him first was that my information was that he was not part of it. But when I invited all these for a meeting here, he was the only one who knew why I was inviting the meeting. So when I saw Nandala pull out files to give explanation when I had not told him why I was inviting him, I immediately knew that he was informed in advance what the meeting was all about. We tried still, shortly after that meeting failed to generate any progress, but it was clear that we would not make much progress, mainly because of the election activities that were taking place at the same time. So we decided to sort of freeze the attempt to establish and manage this until the election ends. And as I have pointed out, that was part of the reason I did not want to be involved in that campaign. Of course, we carried out the same attempt after the election, which we have talked about already. Now, when that information came to me about that money, I quickly went back to the money which had been given to me, moved those labels from Bank of Uganda, which were showing the notes, the serial numbers of the monies involved. And that is because new money coming out of the central bank can be traceable when it is released to circulation. That's how they ensure that there are no counterfeits. The serial numbers are traceable. And especially if it is new money like we had now, it's possible to know where it was released to. So I recovered that information, which eventually I also supplied to the committee of elders, but which I also used myself to find out more information about this money. So after failing to make progress with it, nobody talked about what we should do with this money. In fact, I was consulting with my colleagues what should we do with this money we now think is problematic. We had taken a decision it should definitely be returned. But as I have said, there was the whole hula-barrow of the election going on then. And then I am in Rukunjiri towards the election itself. and I get a telephone call from the Honorable Nandala that they want the money to use it for agents. And that was the first time I heard of this story of agents. Said, the other money, we want to use it now for agents. I said, fine, it can be, you can have it. Now, since I was away, I suggested to him that it can be put at my petrol station in Zambia, where there was some security, and that it can be picked from there. And I informed the person where it was being kept to then deliver it to Zambia. And I was completely under the impression that that had been, and the other point I wanted it delivered from Zambia was that I wanted an acknowledgement of the delivery itself, that the money was returned. And when I asked the manager I had in Zambia, she said yes, the money was given to the administrative officer, I think, of the party, and she had signed. I indeed established that it was true. The money was received, I think, in three or four installments, but that was the wish of the lady who was receiving it. It was not because there was no money to receive, but that she didn't want to take it at a go. That was her request. Secondly, I got to learn that part of that money, because it had stayed where we put it for long, and that during the election time, money becomes devalued, loses value, that they decided to translate part of it into dollars. And so, when I said, please return the money, they also returned the money still in dollars. But the dollars, apparently, instead of gaining value, which was expected in the elections, actually the value had gone down. The exchange rate had gone down, leading to that difference in the money that was not returned. As I have said, clearly nobody informed me about this. There was absolutely no reason I would want to keep 600,000 of money belonging to the party with me. If I wanted, I could have kept the 300 million, because there was no, I did not sign for it anywhere. Nobody knew, even I had it. It's me who told all the people that were involved that this money had been brought to me. And so I acknowledge that the 600,000 or so that is being talked about was not returned. Certainly I was not informed. And, you know, if they want them, if I have where to put the money, I have no problem returning it. I have actually written out a check. I'm only worried about whom to give it. Because I wouldn't want it to go into the hands that are dirty also. But that is the disposition of the 300 million that was brought to me. My suspicion is that this 300 million was supposed to be part of the distribution, because indeed there were others who received, and I think even if I had used it, there would have been, that's what I think was intended, that I use it, but that's my own suspicion with hindsight now. Now, so let's go to the report. In the report, the Committee of Elders did not make the slightest attempt to establish the facts. Zero. In spite of my having pleaded with them to do so. They did not check on the party accounts or party records. They did not improve the knowledge that we had before they were formed. In fact, their only written finding, is that this was a very sensitive matter. That's their only written finding, which they themselves try. That's the only thing they found. Beyond that, they only record what each of us told them. That's the only. So there are minutes of the meetings that they held with different people. That's all that this report is. They did not attempt at all to find the facts. So even in this report, you can't, and somewhere they say that Honorable Nandala himself says that he's the one who lent money to the party. They didn't even ask him how much, sir, did you lend? So even that was too sensitive to be asked, and that he told them he withdrew the money he gave me from one of his accounts. Even that they did not. That he supplied some papers from some company, maybe which he owns or has interest in, to show that he had money in the bank. No attempt at all to establish the presence or the source of money or how much, under what terms. If somebody says, I lent to the party, okay, you lent to the party. Is there an agreement between the lender and the borrower? I mean, at least the committee would have established whether if there was money lent, what were the terms? From who? And where was it placed? Was it placed on the lender, on the borrower's account? What happened to this? Where did the borrower put the money, and how was it accessed? Nothing is contained in this report. Indeed, having found nothing, certainly not looked for anything and found nothing, their recommendations are not surprising. Recommendation number 1, reconciliation. Recommendation number 2, tolerance. Recommendation number 3, grooming young leaders. Recommendation number 4, amendment of the Constitution. Recommendation number 5, absence of an organogram
of the party. Recommendation number 6, development of party alliances. Number 8, and the last one, management of opposition African political parties. So, neither in their findings nor in their recommendations did they seek to deal with the dirty money. Save, as I have said, just recording what each one of us told them. And even then recording it in a biased way. Because as I have told you, what I emphasized to them is not in the record of what I told them. And I have only been able to see this from their report. So, I don't think that the value of this report is even equal to the paper on which it is written. Frankly, it is totally worthless. Certainly, what it doesn't do, therefore, is to absolve those suspected of having got dirty money. I have been seeing in the media, the report absolved. Where in this report does it absolve? It doesn't. Because it even never sought to do so. And I think the Honorable Nandala and his colleagues really did not do themselves justice by not using this committee, the opportunity of this committee, to providing the facts that would indeed absolve them. Because they could have done so. They could have brought, like he said, he had lent money to the party. He could have just brought the documentation of the money he lent to the party. As we talk, at least from what I know of some of these people who sit in NEC, nobody in the party, up to now, nearly 3 years later, nobody knows how much money was borrowed or donated. Even if you want to keep the source, they say that the sources are sensitive. Okay, sources are sensitive. But how much money did come to our coffers? At least that should not be sensitive. How much money did we receive in our coffers? And how was it dispersed? And as I have said, I think the whole attitude is because the gravity of this matter is grossly underestimated, by the people concerned, but I think even by quite many in our society who say, I saw somebody writing somewhere on social media saying, but we have been telling people that if money from NRM comes, you eat it and clean your lips and ask for more. That is very true. These bribes the movement brings out to our population, it is their money. They can eat it. But money coming from Mr. Museveni himself to an organization that is seeking the end of his junta is not something comparable. I've heard people comparing it with maybe getting contributions from people who have an association with the movement. That's not comparable. Even if they were cabinet members, there are many people in the cabinet who want change, actually, and who will quietly contribute to the struggle. Just like our members go at night to State House. Many from State House also come at night to talk to us. Because they are also there, but they want change. So yes, you can get contributions from such, but not from the very captor of the country, and you hope that that is all right. And there is no free lunch in this world. Any money that is paid has
Anything Media.